Big Kel
Big Kel
and Kahuna
and Kahuna
podcast.
podcast. Mwah. For sure.
Welcome to episode 11 of Big Kel
and Kahuna.
I'm Kelly.
And I need Samson to lay down. And I'm Alec.
And this, of course, is Samson there and a little sweet Delilah here. So, yeah, we got, maybe they're our guests today.
Yeah, there we go. Samson, lay down, buddy.
Yeah. All right. So what are we recapping from last week?
Last week, was our 10th episode. We're in double digits. I actually forgot to add the title and the description until 12:30. So 2 people viewed it with episode 10, working title. So if you were one of our 2 loyal followers who knows when we release this, thank you. I did change the title. What did I change the title to?
I don't
remember. Recall. But outside of that, we alluded to it last episode. Our book has been released.
Yep.
I will remember to put it in the description.
Okay.
And funny thing about it was, I don't really use LinkedIn.
Right.
I think LinkedIn is very performative, and people are cocking themselves up to look superior using fake titles and being grandiose in their posts.
Yeah.
The funniest one I ever saw was, and it wasn't a joke, I confirmed this was true. This guy goes, the divorce proceedings with my wife have just been finalized. Here's what I learned from that about B2B business sales. He translated getting divorced into
right.
maturation of knowledge regarding B2B sales. So me and my infinite wisdom decided to implore the use of ChatGPT to come up with a satirical post.
Right.
Akin to the post that these people literally say without a shred of comedy.
Yeah.
So it was something like I woke
it's
up.
Like they're telling everybody their life story and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it was something like I woke up at.
It's the problem with this.
I woke up at 4 a.m. in a cold sweat. Something was wrong. The markets were volatile. My professional brand was stable, but what about my personal brand? Undefined.
I thought you meditated and had kombucha.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I drank a cortado. Cortado, which the only thing I know referencing cortado was that South Park episode when they were doing the realtors, and all the city folk came to South Park and were like, "Almond water, bottle of water, cortado,
yeah,
cortado,
okay.
bottle of water." So, to carry on with the post, I said I meditated for 7 minutes and I drank a cortado, and then it hit me. I had not become a published author yet. It was grueling, I drank more caffeine than a startup founder would be comfortable with, all of this, and then I go, I did what any thought leader would do. I refactored my own self-doubt and pivoted to a success mindset. And then finally, after grueling days of work, it can be said, I am a published author. And then it just goes on and on and on, mimicking these posts. But my favorite line was, success is earned. It can't be bought. But conveniently for you, it can be purchased on Amazon or free for a Kindle for a limited time. So
a basic satirical post.
Yeah, and it got 300 impressions, and it got 5 likes. So my question is, do those 5 people that liked it know it was satirical? I hope, for God's sake.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who liked you. I guess it depends.
One of the guys you had me hit up on LinkedIn was one who liked it. So he doesn't know me well, because if you know me, you know that's a satirical post. I mean, based off of what I'm wearing, I'm satirical. But I think he thought I was serious.
All right, Robert Ulrich, like the guy from what was that Heath Ledger movie when he was the Knight's Tale? That's a good flick. He was the guy from Ice Pirates.
Where did that come from?
Because I didn't remember his name last time, and we're in recap, so I figured I'd do it.
Yeah, you did mention.
He had a TV show where he was like a cop in Vegas or something. It was pretty good. Good 80s show, like Beretta and McLeod and Barney Miller, shit like that.
Yeah, but what do you think the best old school cop show was? I gotta say probably Miami Vice, or is there one that's better
Miami Vice was good.
with his nice white Lamborghini?
No, it wasn't a Lambo.
Or was it
It was a
red?
Corvette. I thought it was a Corvette.
It's
I
a
could be
Lambo.
wrong.
'Cause
It is
remember
a
that
Lambo?
scene from Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, no, my Lamborghini
Lambos have
wasn't white.
convertibles?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes.
I'd have to double
The
check.
Gallardo, the first
that,
Lambo,
that
was
a good
convertible.
cop show. Maybe Magnum PI could be a good cop show. I liked Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
That was a good cop show.
Does MacGyver constitute cop?
No. Barney Miller was a good cop show because there's a lot of humor in there, highbrow humor, a lot of sarcasm, and double entendres.
Your mom
So that was pretty good.
And your daughter, they love cop shows. They love CSI.
yeah. Oh, the CSI stuff, but it's kind of different.
What's the other one that?
I used to like, there was a TV show in the 70s, two of them back to back. SWAT and then Emergency 51, which was the paramedic guys.
Oh, dude, could we?
That
talk,
was a good
Can
show.
we talk about Fire Country?
Yeah, you talk about it all you want, but that's a
So months
Cal
ago,
Fire, right?
Cal Fire.
The convicts.
So months ago,
Where they're paying like $4 a day when the fires
well, they were
raging.
actually
Yeah.
stopping the
I
fires.
think half of the people were Cal Fire.
Yeah. So it had to have been what, 6 months ago, when I was coming over weekly to cook you steaks. Oh no, it was more
Yeah.
than 6 months ago. It was probably 9 months to a year. But we found this show, Fire Country, and it's one of those really stupid shows. It's made by Jerry Bruckheimer, so you know it's not going to be an intellectual show. But it's one of those funny shows you can watch with people.
It's predictable.
To you and me, Mom didn't predict
Oh,
any of it.
come on. She got it all.
But what was funny was
Your mom just likes the entertainment more than you. You like to pick out what's going to happen. She just says, I already know what's going to happen and watches to see if it does.
True. But it's funny because it's such a predictable crap show that by the time the credits for the intro credits rolled, you and I have both agreed on, okay, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to lead to this, then this, then this.
But in all fairness, to be honest with you, you could pick that out of all good shows, any kind of show. The difference is the acting isn't that great. It's like a B movie I told you about. That's like a B level show. Like even Reacher, we're watching that. So we're into the 4th episode. Really good show.
Yeah.
I like it. But you know what the fucker's going to do.
Oh, of course.
I'm sorry.
How
I'm 7 minutes in. I'm okay. You know
We're
what
not monetized. Say what you want.
you know what he's going to do. So you get the plot, but the enjoyment is watching him do it. You know?
And watching all the ladies oogle at him whenever he's just wearing his
Yeah.
briefs.
Yeah.
But I think it's good writing in the
The
sense
dude's
that
in shape. I'll give him credit.
who comes up with the name Angel Doll?
I'm probably in the book.
Yeah, could be.
It's based on a book series.
It is. It is. That's another thing too.
I never read those books, but people told me in the book, Reacher's like described like his size. So Tom Cruise played it in the movies.
Yeah.
That's why I never watched it in the movies because it's not believable. Little 5'6" guy running around could do that shit.
Yeah. What was
6'3", 250. Yeah, I think you could do it.
It's plausible. I mean, it was cool seeing the Dutch giant in there. You know, the really big guy.
I saw a clip on him next to the mountain. He's like 4 inches taller than the mountain.
Dude, he's 7 foot plus.
Yeah, he big boy.
So you remember that game I like, God of War, with Kratos,
Yeah.
when you had to do the quick time events
Yeah.
for me after you got home from work? He went into a supermarket dressed like him, and his whole shtick is people come up to him and ask him to hold them and take a picture. So he's just holding people, taking pictures with them. He's a really nice guy, but it's unfortunate that he's always typecasted as a big, mean, brute villain.
Yeah.
But if you're that big, you can't be a nice, sympathetic person
You're not gonna,
in Hollywood.
You're not going to be a dramatic character or actor,
that
or
guy's
even
not
a character actor when you're 7'2", 350.
That guy's not applying
And
and
it
getting
ain't gonna
roles
happen.
for Othello or
No,
anything.
no.
like
He's
that.
going to be the bad man all the time, right? Maybe they'll put him in the next James Bond movie as the villain.
Well,
That could be Jaws' son.
that could be.
I met that guy one time.
You did?
Yeah. When I was working at United at Dulles Airport, he came back. He had his 2 kids with him, and they were maybe 6 and 4, a little boy and a little girl. And the dude's hands, man. You ever
I've been
hold
dwarfed.
hold on a second, a baby's hand
Yeah.
in your hand? That's what, like my hand was in his.
Yeah.
He had to sit. They had a Lincoln Town Car. He had to sit in the front because there's no way he'd get in the back because the dude was over 7 foot tall. So they had him in the front seat of the Lincoln Town Car all the way back. The driver is sitting up on the front of the seat. like this. This dude's all the way back, and his knees are on either side of his ears.
To not hit the dash.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude,
That's
that's got to be painful.
That's another logistical.
To be that big.
That's
Yeah.
another logistical thing I haven't thought about. How do you think Andre the Giant was transported via car?
Yeah, I would rather be the size of like Brad Pitt or Bruce Lee than Andre the Giant or those big guys.
So you'd rather be 5'4" as opposed to 7 foot?
No, Brad Pitt's what? 5'10", 175. I'll take that any day over like 7'2", 400 pounds.
Bro, you know how much poon you get just solely on the basis that you're 7 foot?
That's true, but you'll end up dying like 30, 40, 50 years
Yeah, I
earlier.
mean, they have Marfan syndrome and all that fun stuff.
You wouldn't mind being a jack guy like Bruce Lee was jacked. Just imagine if you were 6 foot and you look like that. You'd
Bruce
do better
Lee
than a
wasn't jacked,
7'2".
He was cut and shredded.
Well, I don't know what's the difference.
Jacked is big, like Reacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather be like, so you know the old classic bodybuilders like Lou Ferrigno and Franco Columbu and Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course.
Wasn't Lou Ferrigno like 5'8"?
Who was he was 6'5".
Who was Arnold's lifting partner? That guy was
Franco.
small.
Franco.
That guy was small.
Yeah, he was like 5'6". Franco Columbu.
That's what
He
you
was
don't
like 5'6".
realize when you start bodybuilding.
But he
Those
was
small
stronger.
guys pack on muscle fast.
But he was stronger than Arnold, so he could bench more and squat more.
Yeah, but he
had
went
less of a
smaller
distance, right?
Yeah.
But I liked a cat named Frank Zane. He wasn't as big as Arnold, but he was probably about 75 to 85% the size, but he was cut and lean. He looked great, but you know those are old fashioned guys.
Yeah,
I don't even know who the new ones are except for some cat in England named Chris Bumstead. He's pretty good.
Chris Bumstead is good. You know the kid who won the amateurs,
Oh, Sam Sulek.
Sam Sulik.
Sulik.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't look like Bumstead.
No, but I saw a side by
That's
side.
like you and me next to Sam Sulik. It's not the
No,
same.
I saw
man.
a side by side comparison. So Chris Bumstead is giving up. He's handing over the torch. He's pretty much done, and
Yeah,
I
what
think
is he,
he's
like
retired.
35 or so?
Yeah, and you know you can't be doing roids for like 15 years.
No,
and expect
and
to be
those
healthy.
fuckers, man. Listen, I listen to these longevity guys, and they will all tell you, you want to find out about nutrition, building muscle, maintaining weight, follow what the bodybuilders are doing. Now, doesn't mean you got to be like them, but to be juiced and jacked and building, bulking, cutting for 15 years.
Dude, those guys wake up in the middle of the night to eat a chicken breast
Yeah,
and rice.
but your body's going to eventually break down.
Yeah.
So, I
You're
mean,
not supposed to carry that much weight.
No,
It's not as
not
bad
natural.
as being obese and overweight, but you're still 50 pounds over what the human body is used to.
Well, yeah, your joints, your heart, your lungs.
Your heart especially.
But I'll give those guys credit. You talk about like a male perfection in size.
Yeah.
Those guys are artists because that's hard to do.
Yeah, I'm not in
That
no
is
stretch
really
of the
hard to
word
do.
gay, but I don't have any disparages towards the homosexual community. But those guys have very sleek looking bodies. That is the pinnacle
Well, but
male performance.
But it's the same thing for female bodybuilders, and I think you could say the same for like male or female gymnasts, male or female swimmers, and male or female MMA. They're usually in shape, not that much, but the CrossFit people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
CrossFit's crazy, but you touched on this, and I want to further elaborate on it. Swimming is a very specific body type.
Yes.
Even with women, it's very broad shoulders and lanky.
Yeah, and longer muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not too many power swimmers. The only power swimmers I see are the guys in a 60-yard sprint dash.
50.
Is it 50?
Yeah.
Those dudes are like track sprinters.
Yeah, they could do
They're fucking jacked.
My best time when the year I was elected to go to states for swimming, my best time in the 50 free. And keep in mind, this was in a 25-meter pool, so you had to do a flip turn. And the pros do 50-meter Olympic-sized
Straight.
pools. But 25 with a flip turn, 25, my best time was, 26. These guys are hitting 21.
Yeah, but they don't have to turn, so you're going to lose at least 2 seconds on turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 4-second difference is a lot to make up in a 20-second race.
It's akin to sprinters where it's
Yeah.
also akin to Formula One where you're talking about hundreds and thousands of a second.
Yeah, because the difference between, in some of these tight races, the difference between first and 10th is like maybe 6 seconds.
How crazy was that back in the day before they had actual timing systems and they were using stopwatches and they were like, it's a photo finish. And they had to just see whose hand was further when they both hit the line. It's so cool. I love technology, man. It's so crazy how much we've advanced, and it makes me look forward to how much we'll advance in the future. I just hope AI doesn't take all our jobs. And
we still do stupid shit.
We got to be put on UBI.
Hey, this is for Roger Goodell and the NFL. Stop screwing around with the overtime in NFL. Admit to yourselves that the college overtime system's better, where they both get 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line, and you keep running it back.
And they both have an opportunity.
Then they got to go for 2-pointers, and then you just do 2-pointers. Stop this bullshit about alternating kicks, letting somebody have a shot. Just take the college format and be done with it.
Yeah, golden goal works in soccer, but you need to have the opportunity for both teams. I'm trying to tell Goodell
to do this, and you stepping on me. We're not talking about golden goal.
No,
but Roger Goodell, ignore him. Go to college overtime. Be done with it. You'll be a hero.
But what I'm saying is that the NFL is effectively golden goal.
No, it's not, because you could end up in a fucking tie.
So it's golden goal if you score a touchdown.
No, if you score a touchdown, if you kick a field goal, you got to give the other. It's too many rules for overtime. Overtime should be we go, and this is the format. And if their concern is about equity, right, because they want to give both teams a chance, because the odds are if you win the coin toss, you'll win 60-40. So that's too much of a disparity. Just let everybody try it and be even. It's too easy. When you have to end up having like 5-10 pages for the rules on what to do, it's ridiculous.
That'd be funny if Doge comes in
and the fact
professional
that
sports to deregulate.
And the best sport in America can end in a tie. That's bullshit. This is not hockey. And the only reason you have ties in hockey is because it's Canada. But now they play out of the tie, right?
Yeah, they do.
You could get a win or loss at a tie.
So I think during the regular season, you have the overtime period. But in the regular season, they may go to shootouts, but if they don't go to shootouts, it ends in a tie.
No, but when you go to overtime and you win, it's a tie win, overtime win.
Well, OTW is the same as a win. You get the same amount of points.
I thought it was less points.
No, you get the same amount of points.
Oh.
Okay, so that's 15 minutes on intro and recap.
All right, current
Let's
affairs.
talk about the only thing that got me excited about this podcast today.
Go ahead.
Zelensky.
Yeah, I think the guy
fuck up.
I think he overplayed his hand.
You think?
Yeah. I don't think he listened to his team by the fact that the Madam Ambassador had her hand in the face. I don't think he listened to his team because they're instituting articles of impeachment back home. I don't think he listened to his team because immediately wanted to come back, and they asked to come back the next day. He didn't listen to his team. Now he's up in the UK talking to the British Prime Minister. He didn't listen to his team because what they said is sign the mineral rights. We have an investment. One, you get money to reinvest into your country. Two, we get money. Then you get guarantees of being there. My understanding is he talked to Marco Rubio and everything was cool. Then he went in and said he wants U.S. troops on the ground before ceasefire.
He was talking to Trump as if he was Biden.
And he wanted us to use our forces to help him recapture. We're not doing that.
No, listen.
Look, hold on. Let me finish. Okay. Let me finish.
Then I have 3 points.
If he's going to ask for that, we can't go into Europe. We can't go into Ukraine.
No.
Because, listen, if the Russians came into Cuba or Venezuela, it wouldn't. No.
Ever heard of the Cold War?
We would be gone. We would be going. So that's the same position. Now, if you want bodies on the ground, get the NATO people to be security forces. We'll finance. We'll sell you arms. But we can't put bodies on there because it will escalate, just as if the Russians put bodies in our hemisphere. It's not good.
So I got 3 points.
Sure.
The first is, without America, you would have lost this war within a week. I'm talking to Ukraine. Ukraine would have lost the war within a week.
That might be true, but that only gets you so much power from that.
But I'm just using that as an initial point to assert the fact that you're not going to get all your territory back. Relinquish your territory as part of a peace deal. You're not going to get Crimea, obviously.
Well, Crimea...
And you're not going to get part of your current country back.
Yeah, and that's the hard part for people to understand. And that's where I got an issue. You got to figure out... Now, some of those regions were ethnically Russian. If that's what the argument is, I don't know. But they got to broker some peace deal. My concern is wherever the border is, future incursions, and they got to get those 30,000 kids back, and they got to do a prisoner swap.
And my second point is, I don't know about you, but I thought J.D. Vance asserted himself as an absolute gangster and showed he can be the successor to Trump in the way that he talked to Zelensky.
He did. He did. I think Zelensky, I think he overplayed his hand. I didn't think he understood.
Yeah, before this, you said he was bluffing with twos.
Well, no. Yeah, so basically when I say overplayed a hand, it's like he's got a high card, ace high card, and he's bluffing that he's got a full house or something. He doesn't. But Trump's right. He gets all his cards from us. Absent us, he's got a dead hand.
Yeah.
But I think he forgot that. And although Vance did hold him to task, I do think Trump was in his commentary. Now they speak differently and they cover differently, but he's got to know that, and this is what I don't understand. This is the goofiest thing. When you're negotiating, Trump's the master of the deal, right? We know that. But when you're negotiating and you got two sides that hate each other and you're kind of coming in to be the honest broker, you can't pick a side.
No.
You have to hold the middle because you're going to have to tell
You
each
don't want
of
to
them.
piss off one or the other.
They each are going to have to give something, or you're going to have to devalue or value their commentary in the overall scheme. But you can't be swinging each way. And I don't think Zelensky understood from what I saw the power dynamic has changed.
Yes.
And I don't think he saw that this isn't going to work anymore.
Did you see the
Now,
video?
I was kind of disappointed that he campaigned on the Democratic side. However, remember, don't forget when
was
Obama
getting free money.
when Obama went against Benjamin Netanyahu in his election. So, we have a history of doing shit, so we shouldn't be surprised when people do the shit back to us.
Now, did you see the video when Trump first greeted Zelensky? And he said, "Oh, you dressed up today." And then he looked at the cameras. You see, he dressed up today, just openly dogging him.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to see that on video. That whole discussion in the Oval Office, he definitely did insult the Oval Office. But my third point is, and I saw this probably 2 minutes before we started this podcast, there's some guy, Alexander or something, in Ukraine who's trying to have an emergency parliamentary meeting in Ukraine to issue articles of impeachment against Zelensky. So he's screwed.
Yeah.
He
see.
screwed the pooch so bad that even his own country is like, dude, what are you doing?
This deal will be done inside of a week. He'll come back. He'll sign a deal. He'll grovel in public. They'll go for the ceasefire, and then they start negotiation. And then that's when it's going to get a little goofy. Listen, Putin's going to step on his. I don't want them coming after me.
Russians can't get us.
Putin's going to be aggressive. So he's going to suck all the oxygen out of the room.
He's got all the cards.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
In comparison to Ukraine.
No, if he did, he would be much further along. This is a stalemate. The question is, what are we each going to get back, and what assurances are we going to have? And with the U.S. in the middle as a broker, we're the only middle broker that can throw weight. No one in the European Union can throw weight.
We're the only empire in history that wants peace.
No, we're not. We haven't always been that way.
Under Trump.
No, we act. Our history is that we act in our best interest.
Sure.
And we help those that can't help themselves.
Yes.
But we do turn blind eyes. When the genocide with the Serbs in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the genocide in Rwanda, the genocide with the Khmer Rouge, we're not always in on that stuff.
Yeah. So Zelensky...
Genocide in Russia.
Zelensky, get your shit together. And maybe this war will be resolved quicker than expected. Okay.
All right, what do you got now?
I'll be brief about this one.
Yeah.
But one of my guilty pleasures is watching YouTube channels such as Blue Cam and Midwest Safety.
Yeah, I don't know
which are
those.
people commentating.
I just like Darwin Awards.
People commenting over body cam footage.
Oh, okay.
And it's, cops.
Yeah.
Live PD.
Yeah.
It's akin to that, but on a singular level.
And probably much more graphic than you see on Cops.
Yes. And it's so funny to see how silly these suspects are. How hard is it to spin a web of lies and stick to it? they get tripped up in their own lives by a cop asking a question that's unrelated. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
it's probably because they're drunk, stoned, high, or they're not too bright, or they didn't
that's what
learn
I
the
think.
lesson that you should watch on the YouTube
But
guys.
what I learned,
Shut the fuck up.
yeah,
Don't do
you
the
like that
cops'
lawyer.
work for. Well, don't do their work for them.
No. And if you want to be a real dick, just roll your window down 6 inches and hand them your ID and say you don't answer questions.
Yeah, but just be prepared that you
be
could get
prepared.
fucked
You're
for
gonna
that.
piss them off.
Or you could get jammed by a legal one, and then you better make sure you're filming it, or you're not going to win your court case.
But what I learned from watching all these videos is Atlanta PD and the Georgia Highway
Georgia
Patrol.
State Police, Georgia Highway Patrol. They don't fuck around.
They don't mess around. They will pit you whenever they want. Because
Dude.
most states have regulations. You can't pit over 35 miles an hour, and you need sergeant's approval. Georgia, no. They'll get you whenever they want.
Well, listen, we used to go up and down 95 all the time to get to Florida to visit your grandparents. And
I remember I drove one time.
My driving, look, going through Virginia, you could go 510 over. Going through North Carolina, South, ain't a problem. You go through Georgia,
You speed limit.
you better be on the speed limit.
On the dot.
They'll nail you for 5 miles over. They don't give a shit.
No.
Florida, they don't. Man, the craziest drivers I've seen in America, outside of maybe
Maryland.
L.A.,
Maryland.
well, New York's kind of bad, L.A.'s kind of bad, but Florida is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you got all these young kids in these rides. You got these old people who can't drive. You got a speed limit up to 75. It's
It's mayhem.
It's terrible.
But that's why
And you know, I always leave like 3 cars in front of me, which is normally okay anywhere in the country
they're
except
always
for
getting in
Florida.
front of you.
In Florida, is like 2 or 3 people come in.
But
and
this
I'm
is
like,
why
holy
I'm
shit.
of the opinion that once you hit retirement age, you should have a driver's test every 2 years.
Well, what's retirement age? 70?
62.
62?
Okay, once you hit 70, you should have a driver's test once every 5 years.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I say at 75, 78, 80, 82, 84.
Because my grandpa drove all the way up to, North Carolina without a license and then got turned around and ended up in Virginia when trying to go back to Florida.
He wasn't a good driver when he was fine.
So, yeah, I
but
mean.
he's got his diabetes, and he didn't have his
diabetes.
license.
Yeah. Yeah.
He told your mom he was gonna cash everything out, and he was gonna move to Thailand with his buddy.
Of course. Why am I not surprised? But this is what gets me. How did this guy, how old is he? He's like 70 something,
Who?
right?
85.
He's that old? Okay. So how did this 85-year-old get all the way from Florida to North Carolina,
Virginia.
mess up, go to Virginia, and go back to Florida without a license? And nobody was the
You don't
wiser.
need your license. As long as you drive properly, you don't get stopped. Problem is he couldn't work his GPS. And he went north instead of south, and he was like 150 miles past where he should have been, and he wasn't feeling good because his legs were cramped. He was sitting. He drove himself to a hospital, walked into the emergency room, and spent like 4 days there before he drove home.
Yeah. So that's
look,
if you like my guilty pleasure of body cam footage, check out Midwest Safety and Blue Cam. But the next current affair.
Hold on, I watched the Darwin Awards and then Street Fights.
Yeah, Brandon
Those are
Herrera
funny.
has a good thing on the Darwin Awards.
Who's that?
He's this gun tuber who ran for Congress and almost became the director of the ATF, but instead of he just filmed him and his boys. There's like 5 of them. They do YouTube videos, but they also have their own site for monetized akin to Patreon. They just did a podcast in the basement of the Pentagon, and the people at the Pentagon let them drink White Claws while speaking to Pentagon officials filming their podcast.
I wouldn't be drinking White Claws on my podcast.
But the Brendan Herrera guy does a White Claw penetration test, so it's part of the lore of
I don't
these
know
guys.
what that means.
Okay. So the next current affair, the F1 preseason testing just wrapped up in Bahrain.
And did
And
Carlos
lo and
Sainz do what
behold-
we say he would do?
Lo and behold, guess who had the fastest time of all
Carlos.
3 days? Carlos Sainz in a Williams.
Yeah, that's more important, not the driver, but the car.
In a Williams.
Yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. That's a clip.
Is it a
too.
good driver bringing a good car out, or is it a new car?
So-
I think it's an upgraded car.
So I think I've told you. I don't know if I told you on
Yeah,
this
there's money
podcast,
on
but
there.
last year they deferred all their upgrades to this year. So
Well,
they,
what gave them benefit to do that? Why wouldn't you do some and some?
they were screwed. They were only
They
gonna.
had no money. They couldn't do
They
it.
didn't have any money. They were gonna go from number 10 or 9 to number 8. It really didn't
It
make
wouldn't have
sense.
helped. Okay.
But now with all the extra R, with the you're talking,
How'd the other kid do
These
beside
team-
on Williams?
Albon, he scored the third fastest time on the third day.
That means they could be anywhere between 5, 6, 7 in the constructor series.
Yeah,
Instead
so-
of 10.
So we said this on the car ride over. I'll say it here because I want it documented. The top 5 drivers of this upcoming year are going to be Norris, of course, Verstappen, of course. I'm going to say Sainz,
Okay.
Russell.
Okay. Leclerc.
Who do you think the 5th would be?
Leclerc.
Leclerc?
Yeah.
But how funny would it be
And I think
for
Piastri.
Williams to be both?
I think Piastri will be 6, and I think Hamilton will be 7.
How great would it be
Alonso
that
will be 8.
Sainz has more points than both Ferrari drivers? That's a big middle finger to Ferrari.
Oh, he won't.
You don't think so?
I think
He'll definitely
unless,
be better than Hamilton.
Well, for sure. Unless the Ferrari is shit, Leclerc should be 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, because that's the thing with Williams. They DNF a lot.
Well, the question still has to be resolved. Do they have enough money to buy extra cars? Or you guys start crashing cars?
Yeah, well, they got the Atlassian sponsorship.
Well, that doesn't mean they're gonna spend it on a shitload of cars, or if they're gonna have to refurb them. But we'll see. I think Hamilton, I told you in the car, is a lot like Verstappen.
Yeah.
I think he'll have a decent year this year because it's new car.
He won't be able to
different
challenge,
car.
though.
No. I think he'll be.
It's a learning year.
Maybe how many races are there? 22.
22, 24. This is going to be a learning year for him. He might get real good towards the end.
I say that Lewis Hamilton does not make more than 8 podiums this year.
That's a bold statement.
He doesn't make more than 8.
That's
I
plausible.
think he's gonna make less.
That's plausible. Yeah, there's a high likelihood of that happening.
Because listen, Piastri will make more. Sainz
Yeah.
will make more.
Because Norris.
Norris will make more.
Verstappen.
Russell will make more. Verstappen will make more. There's 5 guys right there. And Alonso could look. Alonso is a decent rider. He'll be hanging around.
Yeah.
He's like a team you
And
don't
that
let
Aston
hang
Martin looks
around.
sharp this year. So
Yeah.
here's a good bet. Who do you think will get more podiums this year? Liam Lawson in the Red Bull or Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari?
That's interesting because Red Bull is a better car, but Hamilton would be a better driver, unless the kid's special.
He's not.
Well,
He's
then
American.
then I'll have to put it with Hamilton.
Okay.
So how do you get on Red Bull then?
So he was on AlphaTauri, and they dropped Sergio Perez because of his inconsistency.
Who's is Ocon still running? Who's he run? Oh, that was the
It was
first
the pink
car.
one, the BWT.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Alpine.
Who's with Sonoda?
Yuki Tsunoda is with a new kid.
New kid?
Yeah.
That's the blank Cash
There's-
App
I think-
Racing Bulls.
Yeah.
The Visa Cash App
Visa
Racing
Cash App
Bulls.
Racing Bulls.
Yeah, but I still think that's the best looking car.
It is. I like that white livery. But I think I heard somewhere there's 8 new faces in Formula One this year.
Yeah, that's usually they keep those like
Usually you
Magnus-
just get the winner of F2 and that's it.
Magnussen stays around
Yeah.
and Bottas wasn't in. I saw him in the stands. He got cut too.
Yeah, Bottas did get cut. Okay, so those are my 3 current affairs. I was going to talk about how AI is taking software engineering jobs, but that's a given that
What
doesn't
is-
need to be spoken on.
Oh yeah.
But what is yours right there?
Well, my first one is there's a measles outbreak in the United States. We had some young child died in Texas yesterday. First time in a decade
Wow.
that we lost somebody. They say it's the most contagious virus that's out there, but they also say that when you have your vaccine, the first shot, you get 93% coverage. Second shot, you get 97%. And I was listening to some doctors today, and they said the fact that if you had it or you had the vaccine, you have herd immunity.
Herd immunity.
So you can help those that aren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
They said in the county where I think, 120 to 136 are at, there's an 82% vaccination rate.
Oh.
So I don't know if that has to do with people who don't want to get vaccinated or an immigrant population, or they said the Mennonite communities out there. I'm not sure what it is,
Real
but
quick,
hold on. They said that Kennedy sent down 2,000 doses. They sent them down today from
RFK.
Yeah, from HHS. So
Well,
they sent those down.
Here's my thing.
But that's definitely a vaccine you should get.
10 seconds or less. Here's my thing. Akin to Florida, I surmise there are a lot of anti-vaxxers in Texas.
Yeah, but an anti-vaxxer, there are certain vaccines that I would question. But there are other vaccines
That
that work.
Completely necessary.
Yeah. Now, this is wild. I heard this the other day, and I'm going to have to do some more research. I saw like the Secretary General of Health or something like that in Kenya say that, in 2012 or something, they were given from the World Health Organization, and they basically decertified them, and they also took immunity away from Bill Gates because he supposedly helped bring this in. I could be wrong, but that's what it said. And
Bill Gates was fucking
hold
with
on, I
Africa.
haven't verified it, but they said what they were doing is that they were giving tetanus shots to women while they were pregnant, so the baby would get the tetanus vaccination as well. But what they found out is that there were a couple other things in the tetanus vaccination which forced sterilization. So people who got it had a whole bunch of stillborns or miscarriages, or they were sterile.
Look into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
So they're suing them. That's eugenics.
Yeah. Well, he did eugenics in Africa.
So the
He
Kenyans,
circumcised people in Africa too. He hit them with a bunch of vaccines. He did some nefarious things.
I'm sure he did. It's just Kenya now got wise to him, and I'm going to follow that and dig a little bit deeper into that next time because that's concerning. That's concerning. When you take something, you expect people to be telling you the truth, and if they're doing some nefarious shit, they should get popped.
Yeah, I mean, if you're injecting pregnant women with a vaccine,
that causes sterility.
You would hope
it does what it did, but it also caused sterility.
You would hope that it's backed by double-blind medical studies that show it has a high efficacy rate.
It did. You're not listening to me. It did what it was supposed to do, but they doctored it and put other shit into it,
well, there you go.
which then sterilized people.
Nefarious.
So that's the nefarious thing. So that's terrible. All right, and then the only other current affair is Elon Musk and the Doge team. They actually interviewed the gal who's running a lot of stuff. She's deaf, but she's like brilliant. I listened to the interview, but look, I don't understand why any American would be upset. We talked about this before of a fiscal audit that's going on. You want to know where your money's going. Listen, if you're in a married situation and you're making money and you expect whichever significant spouse it is that does the books, or if you do it together, all of a sudden you thought your mortgage was paid and you find out it wasn't because somebody went to get a tattoo or buy some, whiskey or drugs or something.
You'd ask questions.
You'd be a little bit deterred and ask questions too. When you would figure out that you're actually spending more money than you make every month, that should be a concern.
That's going to raise some eyebrows.
And you roll everything on debts or equity debts or credit cards, and then you're living where you have to pay just the interest on the note, and you can't Wouldn't you ask questions? Which one of you in a marriage, or even if you were by yourself, wouldn't ask those questions? But somehow you can't do it with the government. This is the biggest foolishness I've seen.
And the Democrat...
And if I got to hear one more Democrat say that Trump's a Russian agent again, and he's a tool of Putin. Look, you guys tried that shit for the last 8 years, and none of it was true then, and none of it's true now. They just sound like buffoons.
Yeah, and the Democrats now are saying, "Oh, you're taking a slash and burn technique to the government."
Mm-hmm.
And even my local church the pastor sent out an email and said, "It's a very hard time right now. I know we can all look forward to Sunday because we live in
They're pandering for donations."
Well, no. He has a small parish. We live in an area that's heavily dominated by federal workers. So he's talking about all the federal layoffs, saying, we really need Sunday now more than ever. I'm of the opinion, and you can fight me on this because you were in the federal government for 15, 20 years?
Almost 15.
If you're laid off from the federal government, that implies Well, there are two camps. You're either a detractor of this administration and you should be laid off so you don't do anything nefarious, or, on the other hand, you're the bottom 10% of the federal workforce,
Well-
which means you're not really doing anything.
Well, look, I'll say it differently, considerably differently. There is the administration believes that the federal government's bloated right now.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're going to go through a downsizing, the very first thing you do, and this is harsh,
First in, last
but
out.
but you're going
Or
through a
last in, first out. Sorry.
You're going through a downsizing. The very first group to come is the probationary people, because as much as you guys want to complain that a probationary person got gone, at least the 20-year-old seniority didn't. So listen, that's the cold hard facts about downsizing, probationary.
Last in,
and
first
then,
out.
And then what they did is they removed people on a PIP or any performance improvement plans. They were all gone. And then the next thing they're doing is they're taking people that are obstinate and they're bureaucrats. For example, I don't know how it shook out, but the Epstein files were supposed to be released.
They were all redacted.
And they weren't released in full because the field SAC decided to disobey the directive of the FBI and the Attorney General.
Get that guy out of
So
here.
that kind of person needs to be fired.
Yeah.
You don't have that authority. You can't do that. That is direct violation of the will of the president who runs the
Can
executive
you revoke
branch.
a pension for a guy like that?
Pensions can be revoked if you're terminated for cause, and it has to be egregious.
Okay.
Egregious.
But that is egregious.
I think that could qualify.
Okay.
It could. So that's who gets fired. Now, the next group of people that get fired, and this is, so if you're probationary, I'm sorry, but that's how it happens. If you're on a PIP, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be on a PIP. And if you're an obstructor, you got to go because you're not serving at the will of the president, and you
Detractors
have
aren't
to
gonna
follow
help.
it. And that's the problem in this place. There are too many people that are too far, too right or left. But I can tell you from my personal opinion, the
And
people.
experience.
Can I tell you from my personal opinion and experience, the people that are on the right still do the bidding of whoever's the president and they follow rules. The people that I have come in contact in my career, I'm not saying everybody, the people I've come in contact that are far left, they do far left shit no matter who's in
They
charge.
go AWOL.
And that shouldn't be tolerated. Now, the next group of people that are being gone is when they start scuttling agencies, like the Department of Education. We spend more per capita on students than anybody in the 40 most developed countries,
still have
we
dumb
rank
kids.
40.
Yeah.
So we have way too many people. So, those things.
And they're not doing anything of value.
I don't know what they're doing, but if you're measured on your results, then they're failing. The USAID giving money through NGOs and secondhand cutouts to 7 different terrorist organizations. Come on, that shit's got to stop. How is that benefiting us?
I mean,
I
you saw the
don't-
Obama administration funded ISIS.
Yeah.
through
So
interpersonal
those
channels.
organizations that have grown bloated,
Intermediaries.
I feel bad for those individuals
Yeah.
for no other reason that they got caught up in a bad spot.
Yeah, but they should have known
Well, no,
that
I mean,
their job is meaningless.
no, I don't think anybody
The-
goes. They might think that they had a great
You
job,
think pencil
but
pushers in the Department of Education thought that they were bringing value to the world?
listen, man, I don't think federal employees are all dog shit. I think they work hard. I think they follow direction. The issue that I
Cohort
have,
of them do.
no, the issue that I have is there's a lack of leadership from my experience in
Yeah.
the federal government.
Yeah.
You don't have the right senior leaders and the right managers who are developing, challenging, supporting, and driving, because you can do all that at the same time and be successful, and that doesn't happen. So what happens is you operate to the least managed expectation.
Yeah.
And if year after year you do less and less and less, then you become lazy.
You do the bare minimum to not get fired.
If you haven't gone to work for 4 years and you're told you got to come back, they're actually telling you to be where you were 4 years ago, and everybody's throwing a fit. Come on, man.
Because they're accustomed to the new situation.
But everybody in the field. So, for example, in agencies like ICE and Secret Service or TSA or the FBI, all your assets are field assets.
Yeah.
They got to come to work every day. Why would the headquarters
And they don't
people be
come-
on a telework where they come 1 out of 5
And
days?
a majority
You
of
can't
them
do
don't
that.
come to a office every day. They're out doing shit all around.
Look, the only point I was trying to make, Alec, I don't think you got it, is
I
that
got
if
it.
the people in the field are 100%, you got to be in 100% to support them.
Yes.
Otherwise, you don't need as many people to support. And that was the thing. One of the pieces of fact the Department of Education was 10 years ago there was 2.38 teachers for every administrative position. Now it's 1 for 1. That's too much.
It's way too much.
That's too much.
I mean,
It should be
think about it-
probably 5 to 1 or 10 to 1. That's way too much. So that is nothing more than bureaucracy burrowing in.
Yeah.
So you got to get rid of that.
That's equivalent to saying that there's one police dispatcher for every one sheriff out in the field. Doesn't work like that.
No, it's volume calls, people, and so forth, response time. So things got to change. All right, that's all we got.
Talk about your chapters.
Yeah, so just 2 things that I want to bring up. The first one is that every man should have a business attire outfit, right? You should have your gray slacks. You should have your
casual.
khaki slacks. You should have your black shoes, your brown belt, your black belt. Do not mix match your belts and your shoes. Do whatever the hell you want with your socks. You must wear an undershirt.
Do whatever you want with your
and
tie.
you have well, not all. Yeah, don't put a tie clip in there.
Make it vaguely match your shirt.
Make sure your collars fall right. Either you pin it down or you got a wide spread or a narrow spread. Just be careful. Pick your colors right. Have a blazer and then have a second coat of some type. That could get you through. And then when you get a suit, get a gray pinstripe, get a black suit, and get a navy blue pinstripe, and then you're golden. That should cover you forever. The next one is you guys got to have a budget. Please get a budget. Do 60-20-20, do 60-30-10. Figure out whatever you want to do with what you got to pay, what you got to save, and then what you want to have as expendable income.
Yeah, but your expenditure should not be 90% of the money you
No, it
take
should
home.
be a 6-20-20. So 60%, it covers all your daily living
your nut.
requirement. Yeah, your nut, your food, your mortgage, whatever it is. 20%, you could do fuck all with. Whatever you want. You can invest it. You could spend it on video games. It could be entertainment, beer, whatever. I don't care. The other 20, you got to invest. You need to put 10 away for sure, but then the other 10, and have fun with it. Look for stocks. Look for, buying some gold
Just
or
don't buy
precious metals.
NFTs.
But 60-20-20 should work fine. So those are the 2 things I wanted to cover off. All right. So we're going to do...
You say all right before you start every segment.
That's the influence of living in Canada for 4 years, eh?
Hey, sorry.
Hey, you betcha.
Sorry about that.
Bill and Doug McKenzie. Bob and Doug McKenzie.
We have
from the
AAA.
Great White North.
We have AAA, eh?
Yeah. You know what was a good movie? It's not going to be on our movies, but you should watch. There's a good John Candy movie called Canadian Bacon. And if you live near the border and you understand...
It's just ham.
No, you understand. Yeah, it is ham, but you understand the difference between Americans and Canadians. This is a great satirical show that talks about a movie.
Cool.
Because you could pick a lot of stuff up. We lived there for 4 years, so there's all kinds of stuff we could tell you about. Maybe one episode we'll do that. We'll bring a Canadian down here. So we're going to do a top 5 list. We're going to hit it real quick, and we'll come back through. I will start. Our top 5 list is the greatest Washington Redskins of all time. I will run mine from bottom to top. Understand we have a 30-year difference. He never saw the golden years in 82, 87, 91 with a Super Bowl or Joe Gibbs. He got when Joe Gibbs came back. So with
The
that,
only thing about Joe Gibbs I know is his racing team. So
yeah, and the Youth for
Go
Tomorrow
ahead and
across
prompt-
from where we used to live.
Go ahead and prompt yours.
All right, so our top 5 Washington Redskins of all time. Do you want to go back and forth, or do you want to go
You
one
hit
of my
your
list?
5 to 1. I'll hit my 5
Okay,
to 1.
so we'll start again. Washington Redskins, top 5 players of all time. For me, number 5 is the Hangman, Chris Hanburger, right there, number 55. The next one for me
I'm scared of
is
dogs.
running back. Larry Brown, number 43, all-pro, fantastic. The next for me is Darryl Green, cornerback, number 28. He is an example of the Washington Redskins. Number 2 for me is Charlie Taylor, one of the best wide receivers I've seen. I had to pick somebody. Art Monk was great, but for me in his time, Charlie Taylor was better. And number 1 for me is Riggo. John Riggins, number 1 Redskin all time. Go ahead. What's your 5?
So my top 5, I'm going to have to pivot. My 5th is going to be Chris Cooley,
Okay.
tight end. Number 4 is going to be Clinton Portis.
Okay.
Number 3 will have to be Joe Theismann.
Okay.
Number 2, only because he wasn't there long enough, was Sean Taylor.
Yeah, he didn't make my list. I thought he'd be one of the greatest, but his longevity for me.
And
your
number one, I gotta say it because it's the way I played football when I was a kid, John Riggins.
Woo, woo, the Diesel.
Dude, did you see the documentary of him?
So that's our top 5 on both sides.
Did you see the documentary of him living in the camper?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy man.
I told you one time, so when he was with the Redskins, he had a house that was like halfway between Reston and Oakton, more towards the Reston area. So I was working with a guy, and we were landscaping the house. He knew his ex-wife. I don't know how he knew John Riggins' ex-wife.
Right now.
So it's they didn't have a lot of grass, a lot of trees, so the grass wasn't there, but a lot of dust. So I'm like coming
You're
around the
talking way too
corner
loud, bro.
from the garage,
Don't make me equalize
and I'm
this.
and I'm
Talk
blowing the sidewalk, and as soon as I come around, he walked out the front door. I hit him with a puff of smoke like 8 feet by 8
You
feet,
hit Riggins with a
and
puff of
just
smoke?
fucking drenched his ass
You
with
blasted
dirt.
John Riggins
I
with
blasted
dirt?
him with dirt with my blower, and I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry. I didn't see you coming by. So that was my one-on-one
How
contact.
did he respond to that?
He just started laughing and said, it's okay, and he just walked away. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. So that's our guys. All right, so the next thing we'll do, we'll let you go
Dude, you're
first.
talking way too fast. And stop saying all right when you introduce any. We got time.
No, we don't. We got 10 minutes.
Dude, we don't have to be constrained to an hour.
Okay.
We could do.
But you're wasting time now.
Joe Rogan does 3-4 hour long
We're not
episodes.
Joe Rogan, and we don't have Elon Musk
Yes,
as
but
a
a
guest.
podcast. I've tried to.
Elon Musk is 3-hour guest. I get that. We don't have
tried
that.
to explain this to you for
You're
a
dragging
podcast.
2 minutes
to
now.
qualify as a podcast, it's a minimum of an hour.
Okay.
If it's an hour 15, hour 30,
We make it out.
that's just bonus for our 3
Oh,
fans.
you're killing me, man.
Go ahead with your top 5. I had to write it down because you're not as intimately familiar
Really?
with tracks as I am.
All right, so number 5 for me is Circuit of the Americas.
You didn't even introduce it.
Oh, top 5 Formula One track. For me, number 5, Circuit of Americas in Austin. 4, Silverstone in Silverstone in England. Number 3, I will go with the Azerbaijan City track. Number 2, I'll go with Monza in Italy. And number 1, I will go with the Grand Prix of Monte Carlo. I don't know the track. Although it's a shitty race because nobody can
The
pass.
cars are too. The
Yeah,
cars
the
have
cars are
outperformed
too
the
powerful
track.
for the track. They got to change the layout, or they got to move off of that. They're
All
going
right,
to have to give up their legacy.
So my 5.
All right, Alex, top 5 F1 tracks.
Number 5 will be Spa in Belgium
Okay.
with that uphill.
Yeah, good track.
Number 4 will have to be Suzuka in Japan.
Okay.
Number 3, I would go with Zandvoort. That's their Red Bull testing track.
That's that F1 track.
It's on the calendar.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, I will go with Kota just because it's cool. It was the first.
You would pick that
It was the
before
first
Miami
American
or
track.
Vegas or Mexico?
Yeah, because it was the first
Or Sao
It
Paulo?
was the first American track. And then number 1, even though it's not on the Formula One.
It's got to be a
Schedule.
Formula One. You're going to say
No,
Nuremberg.
no, it's number 1 racetrack.
Is Nuremberg?
Nürburgring.
You think so?
Yes, I know so.
The best all time?
The Green Mile? Get the hell out of here. Yes.
Okay.
Nürburgring is the best track.
All right. I believe it.
Dude, there's 100+ corners.
Okay. I believe it. Why didn't it go back there? Too many people died? Too many blind corners?
Too many people die.
And you can't go in a car now on that?
No,
Because
you
you'd be
can't.
coming blind on something?
No, so here's what's funny about the Nürburgring. It's a tourist attraction. So there are a lot of car leasing
Yeah.
companies around the area that let pedestrians and civilians drive the track. And that's another guilty pleasure of
We
mine.
should go there.
Is the crash compilation videos on YouTube of the Nürburgring? That's another guilty pleasure.
So one year we'll go to Oktoberfest, and then we'll go there and race in September. How's that?
I'm cool with that.
All right. All right, the next thing we got is our books.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I forgot the guy's name. Shit, I just blanked on him.
Wait,
But-
isn't that also a movie?
Yeah. The Last of the Mohicans with Hawkeye. That's a good book.
Jeremy Renner?
No. It was.
That's Hawkeye, the guy that hurt his legs
No,
in a snowmobile
Hawkeye is the
accident.
superhero. The other one is Daniel Craig. Not Daniel Craig.
That's James Bond.
No. Who's shit? The guy that was in Gangs of New York.
I did.
The Butcher Bill that was fighting. You know, he's a Daniel Day-Lewis. Great actor.
Okay.
So he played the Hawkeye in The Last Mohicans. But in the book, it's a good read.
Okay.
I forgot the dude's name, but it'll come to me.
So my book is a little bougie, and it's solely because I was assigned to read it in college in one of my philosophy classes, but I recently reread it. It's Plato's Allegory of the Cave,
Okay.
and
What's that about?
I'm sure you guys all know it. You've seen that image of the people shackled in a cave, and there's a reflection showing equivalent of a TV in front of them, and all
Yeah.
they do is watch what's shown on the screen,
Right.
and the person behind it projecting what's on the screen is nefarious, and it's inundating them with all this stuff to not make them think, well, why am I in a cave? Can I get out of this cave? So I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to become a philosophy nerd here, but it is quite indicative of society nowadays, and in particular, the individuals who are upset about what's going on nowadays and looking at mainstream media. It's very.
I'm with you.
It's a telltale.
Listen,
It's an allegory.
what was that one movie we saw with the Fuddruckers thing? What was that called?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Dude, I think that's happening.
It's becoming reality.
I think Americans are getting dumber.
Yes. You know what's
Because
funny about
we
that
don't
movie?
we don't know geography, we don't know history,
Well,
we
half
don't
of
know
us.
current affairs,
Half of us don't.
we don't know the social political stuff, we don't know how money works, we don't know how economy works, and we're educated on these 15, 30-second clips.
I like money.
On YouTube and shit.
You
It
know what's
it's
funny
not,
about
and
that
we're on
movie?
YouTube, so it's not YouTube as a platform. Is that anybody
It's
can
the shorts. It's the reels. It's scroll.
but anybody can entertain
Instant
themselves any
dopamine.
which way you want. But
Dopamine
listen,
hit. Dopamine hit.
you
Dopamine
gotta-
hit. Dopamine hit.
you got to have a baseline, and we are no longer intelligent as a collective group to speak on world
Holistically,
topics.
we're no longer holistically
So
intelligent.
that goes
Well,
back to
real quick-
what. Hold on a second. That goes back to what we talked about, fellas. It doesn't take much nowadays, unfortunately, to differentiate yourself from the herd. Know
It's
your
very
current
easy.
offense. Hold on, son. Know your current offense. Know your history.
Current
Understand how
offense?
that plays. Understand how the economy works, and understand the political references. If you could speak intelligently from either perspective, learn how to debate. You should be able to debate both sides.
Just
If
learn
you
to
can learn to do
minimize-
that, you will end up separating yourself and be a top 10%er like
Learn
that.
to minim-
And don't interrupt.
Learn to minimize your utilization of verbal crutches, and then you'll stand out as a superior speaker in comparison to a vast cohort of individuals.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about
but you also
Idiocracy?
have to. So you got to
I'm
be.
not done talking.
You got to be eloquent, but
Can
you
I
gotta,
finish?
You have to speak a sub. You got to be
So I can.
informative.
You know
Don't
what's
be a
funny?
bitch.
You
You're
know
acting
what's
like
funny
a bitch.
about?
You might be my bitch of the week.
Okay, well,
Keep
I'm
going.
pretty sure I'm not as big of a bitch as the
Keep
one you ever
going.
in there. You know what's funny about Idiocracy? When they were
Yeah.
filming it, the creator was looking for a set of futuristic shoes that look really stupid. Guess what shoes he went with?
What?
Crocs. Because
Huh.
Crocs were just starting off and nobody knew about them. And then it's a perfect prophesical prediction.
Dude, have you ever
Now
worn
Crocs
those?
were famous and used afterwards.
Dude, they're comfortable.
I did wear Crocs, and I
Now-
put the little stupid things in them as a
well,
kid.
You were a kid. I have a pair of Birkenstocks. Those are the best
Jesus sandals?
shoe. I'm telling you.
Jesus sandals.
Dude, they form your feet. Your toes aren't crimped. Your foot's not crimped. I'm gonna get a pair of the shit. I'll talk about it next week. A specific barefoot shoe with your toes
Thank you for
separated.
wearing socks this time. It gives you a little more
I only was
legitimacy.
barefoot one time. One time.
Then
All
again,
right.
I did have a hole in my sock
So what's
last
our
week.
movies? So you go first.
My movie.
Oh, sorry, baby. Sorry, baby.
They freaked out because they heard Mom come home.
Come here. Come here.
My movie is Prometheus,
Okay.
which I think is
Where's
the.
that in the Alien series?
I think it's the precursor to the Alien movies, right? Because the
Yes.
Prometheus were the ones that made the Alien.
That's the first one.
Yeah. Really good movie. Really good CGI.
I think it's the first one.
I'm going to give you a teaser. My movie of the podcast for next week is going to be Pacific Rim because I watched
Oh,
that
that's
last
a good
week.
one.
Dude, that's like a 10-year-old movie and
Very
the CGI
underrated.
still holds up.
Very underrated. And Charlie's in there
Yeah.
with the ganjai, or what are they called?
Gaijin.
Well, Gaijin, yeah. But that's a good
Gaijin
one.
is what
Gaijin,
Japanese.
White.
White.
Yeah. So the kid from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, so he was the main
And
guy.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba was the head.
The dad.
He was the head military guy.
Yeah.
But the guy from Sons of Anarchy was the dude who lost his brother and had to
No, it was a good. The first
form a
one's
bond
good.
with the Japanese
The
woman.
second one is dog shit.
No.
First one's good. All right, so my movie of the week is The Thing. Now there was an original one done in like the 50s or 60s. I'm talking about the one done in the 80s with Kurt Russell.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that is look. If you haven't seen The Thing, you gotta watch it. And then if you like The Thing, you are obligated to watch Escape from New York with Snake Plissken.
Show me your shirt.
And then if you it's
you
Cobra Kai.
You don't.
And if you enjoy Escape from New York with Snake Plissken, then you're obligated to watch Big Trouble in Little China. I think those are his.
You
three
did have
best
me
ones.
watch that a year ago, and that was one of the stupid, funny movies.
It's good.
Because
I took your mom to
it's
see
so
that at
old.
the Alamo Theater where they give you all the trinkets and stuff.
where they do like a sing along. It's so
Yeah.
old
Kim
and it's
Cattrall's
so
in there,
over the
too.
top, and the special effects are mostly practical. It's just, it's silly, but it's funny.
So Kim Cattrall was in there, and she was in Sex and the City. But before she was in Big Trouble in Little China, she was in a little movie called. Was she in Porky's? I think she was in Porky's. I think she was the teacher they called Lassie. So that was interesting. All right, so bitch of the week. We're wrapping up. So for me, it's going to be Vladimir Zelensky. You got to read your room. You got to understand. You got to know. We talked about it earlier. We're not putting troops down there, but the fact that we have $350 billion invested in you puts us there. He misplayed his hand. They'll end up coming back around. It'll go in the right direction. All these Democrats that are whining and complaining, they don't understand the long game. They're too reactionary. And to be honest with you, I don't think they're very smart. Because if you understood the long game, you wouldn't be out there being puppets. They say Trump's a puppet for Putin and the Russians. They're the puppets. They're the ones that are just doing the talking points to cause diversion and discontent. They're playing right in the hands. What a bunch of dumb shit. So
Did
for
you see
me,
the video?
It's actually the Democrats that are acting like fools, driven by Zelensky.
Did you see the video of him before he became president as a comedian
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
was wearing that?
Look,
Spandex
anybody
dancing and
yeah, but he was elected, so he's the elected representative. He hasn't had a
It's
re-election.
a
but-
fake country.
No, it's not, Alex.
It's a fake country.
No, it is that. Your grandfather's from that. It's not a fake country. It's a country that's been under the yoke of
It's
people
Russian.
for decades and
It's Russian.
centuries.
It's a Russian country.
Well,
So,
you're ignorant to that.
I'm ignorant. So my bitch of the week, and this is a toss-up. I can't believe I haven't said this yet. It's Brendan Schaub.
I thought you didn't like the guy that was with him too.
You know, Brian Callen's making a comeback now because he sold out a whole weekend at the Comedy Mothership.
I
But
still
what-
think he
but-
was good in Hangover.
Yeah, he was good in Hangover. But what's funny about Brendan Schaub, you know, he does those Fight Companion shows with Joe Rogan. He still has never been invited on to the Comedy Mothership. So Brendan Schaub was a
He's not
heavyweight
funny.
during the time of Big Country, Roy Nelson, and a couple other people. He got a claim to fame because he beat other heavyweight fighters when they were after their prime. And then he got knocked out so bad that he was on the cage like
Swimming?
this.
Who
And
was
then,
his best win?
I don't know.
Oh.
But he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan said, dude, you got to stop fighting. You're funny. You should become a comedian instead. And there is a funny clip about him going, Joe Rogan asked him, if you did a wrestling match with Cain Velasquez, I think you'd be surprised. And Brendan Schaub goes, I think people would be surprised. And Joe Rogan goes, No.
Cain Velasquez would kill him.
in wrestling, yeah, for sure. So he
Cain
decided,
Velasquez is a beast.
he's
man.
a monster.
He got a big fucking head.
He went to jail because he almost killed some dude who fucked with his daughter.
as he should have.
Yes, as any father should.
Look, I saw a clip yesterday where a guy, his daughter came home and she was 7 or 8 and she was bleeding in her garments, and he asked her what happened, and he said the uncle did something. Uncle, his brother, he went over to the dude's house. What's wrong? We're fine. He went over to the dude's house He punched him in the face, beat the shit out of him, tied him up, cut his genitals off, stuck him in his mouth.
Well, that's a little extra.
Dismembered him,
Well, there you go.
put him in a suitcase, and threw him in a river 35 miles away. 2 weeks later, he got caught, but he got a life sentence for that.
Because he went to the extreme.
Dude,
He
you
tortured.
know-
He got caught torturing somebody. But
look,
so
I'm
Brendan
of the
Schaub.
opinion that the worst of the worst are kid dealers.
I got it. So let me finish with Brendan Schaub. So then he
And then
transitioned.
murderers and rapists.
He transitioned to comedy. He released his first special, I think, within 2 years. Gringo Poppy.
What do you get, like 10,000 views?
Dude, it had an IMDb rating of like 0.7 out of 10.
0.7?
No, I'm sorry. His first one was like 2 out of 10. His second one was 0.7 out of 10.
Well, you got to give the
So
guy
he's
credit.
just-
He's still
he's
trying.
just terrible.
Somebody's paying for him.
The number up top stopped, so go ahead and say goodbye. I gotta make sure that this recorded everything.
I think we ran out because I don't see the mic going. All right, that's it. Have a good day. We're done. Thanks.
Sometimes you just gotta be a little unplugged and let it rip.
Disclaimer for Generations Unplugged with Big Kel and Kahuna. This is a podcast created for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed in this podcast reflect the personal experiences and opinions of the hosts and guests. Topics like health, fitness, financial well-being, and personal development are discussed based on individual perspectives and are not intended as professional medical, financial, or psychological advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with qualified professionals before making decisions related to health, lifestyle, or finances. Each person's journey is unique, and results may vary. The creators of Generations Unplugged disclaim any liability for actions taken based on the content of this podcast. Remember, informed decisions and expert guidance are key to building a fulfilling and balanced life.